You've been trying to find yourself for years. Therapy, journaling, shadow work, going deeper and deeper. And the more you dig, the more confused you get. You thought finding the real you would bring clarity, freedom, peace? Instead, you're more anxious, more paralyzed, more disconnected from everyone around you. Here's the part no therapist will tell you. What if the entire self-discovery industry is selling you a lie? What if digging for your true self is exactly what's destroying you? Because there's a biological reason why finding yourself leads to madness. And it's hidden in a 100-year-old Russian psychological concept that most Western therapists ignore. By the end of this, you'll understand why the smartest minds don't search for truth. They build it. But first, you need to know what you're actually finding when you go digging. The enemy here isn't society. It's not your parents. It's not capitalism. It's humanistic psychology. The belief that deep down, everyone is good, pure, full of light, that there's a golden child inside you just waiting to be discovered. Most people believe this. They spend decades in therapy excavating their psyche like archaeologists, digging for that beautiful, authentic core. But here's what actually happens when you dig to the bottom. You don't find light. Russian philosophy has 2 words for truth, and understanding the difference will save you years of wasted introspection. Objective truth, absolute truth, raw, biological, chaotic, pragmatic truth, functional truth, the story that lets you survive. And here's the secret psychologists know, but never say out loud. Objective truth destroys you. Think of your personality as a text, a story you tell yourself and others. You're not the author of this story. You're the result of random biology, evolutionary drives, and events you didn't choose. When you try to find the true you, you're looking for the author, the source code, the original blueprint. But there is no author. At the bottom of your psyche isn't a golden child. It's a nuclear reactor. Pure, chaotic drives. No morality, no identity. Just ancient survival mechanisms running on autopilot. This is why people who find themselves often end up worse. More depressed, socially isolated, unable to function in normal life. Because they discovered the objective truth, the absolute truth, and it annihilated their personality. Your personality isn't something you discover, it's something you construct. And the goal of life isn't to find the absolute truth, it's to build a functional truth that actually works in reality. So how do you build one? 5 steps. First rule, stop asking, "Who am I really?" That question is a trap, a hermeneutic loop that eats itself. The self-analyzing the self doesn't create insight. It creates fiction, anxiety, paralysis. Here's what you do instead. For the next 72 hours, ban yourself from asking why. Why did I do that? Why do I feel this way? Why am I like this? Every time you catch yourself spiraling into introspection, physically say out loud, "Doesn't matter." Replace it with, "What story moves me forward?" Because here's the thing. Neuroscience shows that introspection activates your default mode network, the same brain circuit responsible for rumination, anxiety loops, depression. You think you're discovering truth? You're not. You're just generating narrative. And most of the time, it's a dysfunctional one. But stopping the excavation isn't enough. You need to audit the story you're already telling yourself. That's step 2. You think your life story is true? It's not. It's one interpretation among thousands. And right now, it's probably the interpretation keeping you stuck. Here's the exercise. Take 15 minutes. Write down your current life narrative in bullet points. Example, I was neglected as a child. I'm broken. I can't trust people. I'll always be alone. Then, next to each point, write this question. Does this story help me function? Not, is this true? That's the wrong question. Ask, is this useful? Because your brain is a story-making machine. It doesn't care about absolute truth. It cares about coherence, survival, making sense of chaos. Studies on memory show we rewrite our past constantly. Every time you remember something, you're actually reconstructing it, editing it, changing it. The question isn't what really happened, it's what story lets me survive. So you've identified the dysfunctional stories, the narratives that paralyze you. Now comes the hard part, building the pragmatic truth. This is where most therapy fails. They help you accept the painful truth. They validate your trauma. They tell you to sit with your feelings. But acceptance isn't the goal. Function is. Here's the protocol. For each dysfunctional story, write a functional truth. Not a lie, not toxic positivity, not everything happens for a reason. A story that is adequate to reality but allows you to act. Example. Old story, the objective. Truth. I'm a biological machine with no free will. Nothing I do matters. We're all just atoms. Functional truth, the pragmatic truth. I'm a responsible agent capable of growth. My choices shape the trajectory of my life. Both are true in different ways. Philosophically, you could argue for either, but only one lets you get out of bed in the morning. Only one lets you function. The neuroscience of identity backs this up. Your sense of self isn't a fact, it's a narrative, a linguistic construct your brain pieces together from memory and experience. People who recover from severe trauma don't find the truth about what happened. They build a better story about what it means. But here's where people screw this up. They confuse pragmatic truth with delusion. And that's what step 4 prevents. Pragmatic truth isn't fantasy. It's not, I'm a billionaire when you're broke. It's not, everyone loves me when you have no friends. It has to be adequate to reality, grounded in what's actually happening. The test. Does this story help you work, love, and live without crashing into walls? Here's how you verify it. Test your new story against 3 domains: work and productivity. Does this story make me more effective? Does it help me take action? Relationships. Does this story let me connect with people? Or does it isolate me? Internal peace. Does this story reduce my suffering? Or does it create more anxiety? If your functional truth fails in any domain, rewrite it. If it works, protect it. Because evolutionary psychology tells us this: your ancestors didn't need absolute truth. They needed stories that kept them alive. Same applies to you. But there's one final step, the most important one. Miss this, and the whole system collapses. Here's the secret therapists know but never say. The trick only works if you don't reveal how it's done. You must consciously hide the chaotic absolute truth behind your pragmatic truth. Here's the rule. Never publicly deconstruct your identity. Don't sit around at dinner parties talking about how meaning is just a construct or free will is an illusion. That's like a magician explaining the trick mid-performance. The magic dies. In private, know the truth, understand the mechanism. In public, live the story. Because humans are social animals. Your identity doesn't exist inside your skull. It exists between people. When you expose the objective truth, the raw, chaotic truth, you break the social contract, and people can't handle it. This is why radically authentic people often become isolated. They revealed too much. They tore down the magic. And no one wants to be around someone who keeps pointing out that nothing matters. There's an old Russian fairy tale about this. A knight comes to a crossroads. 3 paths. Go left. You embrace comfortable lies. You lose touch with reality. Go right. You pursue absolute truth. You find it and you lose yourself. madness, social death, the holy fool. Go straight. You become a text, a functional human being who operates on pragmatic truth, a necessary story. Most people go left. They live in delusion. A few go right, and they go insane. You're choosing straight. So what does this make you? Not a seeker, not someone on a journey to find yourself. You're an architect. You don't discover who you are, you build it, brick by brick, story by story, and you build it knowing full well it's a construct. That's not weakness, that's mastery. The irony? The people who stop searching for the true self are the ones who finally find peace. Not because they found the answer, because they stopped asking the wrong question. Truth doesn't set you free. Functional truth sets you free. The rest is just noise.